Sup guys, Bjorn here. Today's just another short video. We're gonna take a look at some 9.1 prep. There's not a whole lot to go through at all. I mean, the patch is coming out in 3 days. It's quite last minute here, but there's some stuff to go through still. We have currencies, right? Valor and Conquest, you're gonna want to spend those if you haven't already. You can either spend Valor on gear upgrades. I mean, it's probably still gonna be pretty good to do that. If you don't have any gear upgrades you can get, there's a little boy standing in at the Great Vault here. He offers some. He actually offers some trade goods and stuff for in return of your valor. So you could buy those with valor and save them for 9.1 maybe and sell them then. Same goes for Conquest. Gonna get wiped, so spend it if you have any. Currencies that are not gonna get wiped, however, I guess I should probably get in anima here as well. But you know, these guys you're gonna want to hold on to. Solash is it's not gonna be massively important in 9.1, but if you want to like craft some quick Legos for your alts and stuff, it might still be pretty valuable to have. So I would for sure just save as much of that as possible. Stygia is still gonna be relevant. You're gonna be buying stuff from Legendaries still. You're gonna be buying stuff in the mall from Stygia. So mounts and stuff as well, right? So if you just into that vanity stuff, you can save up the Stygia for that. Honor also gonna stick around on your account. It's gonna be pretty important to have max honor cap, I think, if you're PvP or at least close to it, because then you can just upgrade. No, you can buy the honor gear, but you can also just upgrade the conquest gear instantly, right, as soon as you get it, which is pretty important if you're pushing high rating. So saving up some honor would be pretty nice just for quality of life reasons, right? Then we have the legendary situation, and I feel like this is probably the biggest deal right now in 9.1, right? People are talking about the dome sockets, the recrafting of the Legos, you know, all that stuff. So it's pretty strange, but I figured we'd just run through it and see what your options are, right? So currently you have a 235 item level Lego with a socket, right? If you have socketed with Venari. If you haven't socketed it, then you don't have a socket on it. And the problem, right, is if you have that Lego in either, I mean, you can have it in head, chest, or shoulders. Those three are always going to be domination sockets in the next tier. But then there's also these slots here, where cloth have bracers and belt, leather have gloves and boots, mail is belt and boots, and plate is bracers and gloves, right? So they're randomly spread out across the armor types. And these two slots also have domination sockets. So depending on your armor type, you don't want your Lego in any of these spots, right? So if your Lego is in any of these 5 spots, which is very likely, right? Because in 9.0 you wanted to craft your legendary in the best stat position possible, right? You wanted as much stats as possible, which is legs, helmet, and chest, you know. So it's pretty likely that you have it in one of those. I think the most lucky scenario would probably be if you have like the Lego at the leg slot right now, and none of these dominations sockets are actually in the leg slot. So in that case, you're a little bit lucky. Otherwise, you're probably gonna have to recraft it. And then there's a couple of options again, right? Because either you could just recraft it right now in 9.0 before the patch, and you could socket it with your Stygia from Venari right now with the Season 1 socket. That's possible. Now then you're gonna end up with a 235 with a socket, just as you have right now, but in a new slot, right? So could be worth it. You could also do it just as the patch launches, because they just recently announced that all the newly crafted Legos in 9.1 will have just sockets baseline, right? To avoid this problem. I'm guessing they did it to keep people from trying to fucking socket all their Legos pre-patch, right? So this is probably not going to be that relevant, I feel like. You're more likely to just craft it as soon as the patch launches, if you do want it as soon as the patch launches. And it's also some confusing stuff here, because right now on the PTR, if you craft it, like if you upgrade a Lego and you have a prismatic socket like base item like this Bone Shadow Helm here, then you're still not gonna get a socket. But if you craft a new legendary from scratch and you don't have one of these socket items, you just have one of the old 9.0 items, then you're still gonna get a socket, right? So I feel like this socket here is very misleading. It doesn't really have anything to do with it. The only rule to go by is if you craft the Lego from scratch, from just doesn't upgrade it, well, then you're gonna get a socket. If you do upgrade it, you're not gonna get a socket. So you have to recraft the Lego from scratch here. So this is probably what most people are gonna do, I'm guessing. The problem with that is then you're gonna have to like buy an item, craft the Lego, so you're gonna spend a lot of money on that, and then you're still gonna have to upgrade it after 2 weeks and after 3 weeks, right? So you're gonna end up buying a lot of these base items probably. If the Lego is not that important for you in the first week, you could just keep your old socket, right? Or keep your old Lego. You still have your old Lego, so just keep it for the first 2 weeks, and then you could craft it on the release of Mythic Week, and go straight to 249. Like you could recraft your Lego in a non-domination socket spot at that point instead, because maybe by then you'll actually have a domination socket piece, possibly, and the same goes for the later we're going to the tier, the more likely you're gonna be to actually have a domination socket piece to take up that legendary spot, right? So there are a couple of options. In terms of what I would personally do, I mean, it's pretty difficult. It really depends on your situation. Like if you have a main with a 235 right now with a socket, I feel like just waiting until Hero or Mythic Week launches is not the worst thing in the world, in my opinion. I feel like that's just gonna be the baseline option. It's gonna save you some money, and it's also gonna allow you to just wait out and see what drops you actually get, what changes Blizzard inevitably does to the system, right? Because let's be real, they're probably gonna fucking hotfix something after a week or whatever. So that's a pretty good spot to be in. On the other hand, if you have like an alt and you don't even have a 235 with a socket right now, then maybe you're looking to actually get that 235 socket, the Lego, going into like Heroic Week, right? Otherwise you might not perform as well. So in that case, you might have to craft it like as soon as the patch launches. And this is probably what I'm gonna do. I'm swapping characters in 9.1, so I'm gonna have to. I don't even have a 235 with a socket, and I especially don't have a 235 for all of my specs with a socket, right? So I'm probably gonna have to craft multiple Legos on this week for all of my specs with sockets at 235, and then I'm also gonna have to upgrade those later, which is gonna be pretty yikes, The legendary system is, you can say what you want about it. One thing it does well, in my opinion, is it does enable crafting again, right? I mean, I feel like the last expansion's crafting has been pretty bad. But now with the Legos, you can make a lot of money just making the Legos and farming materials, which is nice. I like that. I like when crafting is relevant. And then the last thing I have here is just, you would probably want to hold on to some materials, right? Because Legos will be in high demand, as we just talked about. People are going to want to recraft them, so I feel like the Lego reagents are probably going to be really strong to sell. Maybe some of those hides, the callus hides. I feel like those are going to be pretty in demand. And then we have enchant spots, augment runes. Those things are also going to be in demand because people are going to want to re-enchant all the gear. They're going to want new pots for the raid and stuff like that. So I would hold on to materials personally, maybe to Heroic Week or something like that. Yeah, that was pretty much the prep I'm gonna do, boys. If you have any questions, if you have any discussion you wanna have with me, just leave it in the comments. I'll respond probably. And yeah, take care. See you in the next one.